How's it going? Today is 14th of October, Monday. It's new week, and we can take a look at what's happening in Europe when it comes to space and all aviation. Since yesterday, we were taking a look at subsidies in agriculture sector. Perhaps more and more businesses and more people or business leaders might be moving away from perhaps or consider moving away from agriculture into solving some of the issues with regards to aviation and or space. Europe should do way more. I don't know how effective some of those organizations are as of now in Europe when it comes to solving some of those problems. We could always do better, right? And most likely we're gonna be beginning by taking a look at what Italy is doing, and from there progressing and we'll touching on UK and overall airports, right? Let's begin. Quickly, just overall where we are on the calendar. We have finished week 163. Overall was a great week. We did a lot of work. Can always do more, I guess. And we're gonna be progressing to week 164. Every second day of the week, we're gonna do a lot of marketing. I have a lot of phone calls and just chasing people. Perhaps Monday, Tuesday, something that we're gonna be doing, as well as we're gonna be closing week by taking a look at government contracts. Let's take a look at the first article that was published yesterday. That would be space and private investment in space are essential. Head of Italian Space Agency says, right? I haven't read it. Let's try to understand it. That would be Milan, and private investment in space sector is essential for its growth and must not be demonized. I don't know if there is anyone demonizing it, but either way, but it needs to be regulated. The chief of Italian Space Agency, RC, said on Sunday ahead of the conference on the industry in Milan. So there's going to be a conference in Milan, and perhaps is it fair to say that is the ESA, European Space Agency, and I don't know how effective this particular agency is, and who ESA is working for. Since I myself I've been trying to reach out to ESA, there's no one to respond to, for comment. There's nobody there. They're busy working on their own projects, right? So perhaps they already doing a lot and working with a lot of businesses, and perhaps those businesses are paying ESA. So let's take a look, and perhaps there's a different agency, something that's called RC. So perhaps we can work with RC. And since yesterday we were taking a look at agriculture sector and let's say tractors, right? Or agriculture sector and the way how fields would be worked using technology. And perhaps some of those operations can be completed remotely. Even that would be a problem that someone would need to solve, right? And raising capital perhaps is something that this article is taking a look at, right? The global space economy is seen soaring to 1.8 trillion by 2035, up from 630 billion in 2023, growing at an average of 9% per year, almost twice the range of projected growth in global GDP. A report by the World Economic Forum, and there's a name that again, can someone solve that? Since there's a lot of debate up there, and the article that I was reading yesterday that would be some people and all businesses just focus as of now on agriculture, right? Investment from private sector reached an all-time high of more than 70 billion in 2021 and 2022. The report added, right? Let's say I'm an investor, right? Would be looking for what uh, can this organization accomplish? A landing, no satellite development, all these kind of areas, right? High value areas. It's a very complex areas, right? Then raising capital, those areas will be very important. Let's progress and let's take a look at the next article, right? For people who are interested, there might be a lot of opportunities when it comes to solving problems, and Italy themselves would organizing conferences, looking to bring more attention. They're doing a lot of PR, all this kind of thing. So I'm just happy to help if I can, right? Let's try to reach out to that organization mentioned previously and see perhaps we can work together. ESA, there's no response. Perhaps, as I mentioned, ESA is doing its own things. Perhaps we can work with Italy. Anyway, let's take a look at the next article. This article was published 18 hours ago. Italian runs space center in Kenya to be used again for observation, right? Perhaps the way how it rockets would need to launch and some of those rockets would need to land in water, just less risky areas, and as well as someone told me that rockets they would need to be closer to a I don't know if it's accurate. Anyway, let's try to understand it. An Italian run space entry in Kenya will be used again for the launch of Earth observation satellites in the coming years, Italy industry minister said on Sunday, which is great, right? So again, we're taking a real look at agriculture and perhaps shifting our focus to other sectors, right? Managed by Italian Space Agency, RC, the name of the person's space center is 13 kilometers or 19 miles north of Malindi and started its operations in 1960s. Its last launch was 1988. Okay, so at least someone is noticing where focus should be, right? And having those capabilities and access to some of those technologies. I have seen UK is doing a lot when it comes to building their own satellites. So I don't know how expensive some of those satellites can be. It can be very expensive perhaps. As well as having access to some of those sports perhaps is something that Italy is focusing on. And let's see if we can engage with them. Anyway, let's take a look at the next article. Let's take a look at overall infrastructure when it comes to airports, right? There are a lot of so-called space centers. Sometimes it can be located next to airports, but I don't know how profitable some of those areas are, and it might be so-called risky. Anyway, Lufthansa risk Italian bed hinges on Rome airport extension. So that would be traveling, and if they're looking to extend airport, that would mean that there should be more people traveling to Rome, I guess. When it comes to tourism, perhaps, but anyway, let's read it just a little bit. But again, it's just something that was published 3 days ago, and how many investments are in the space, right? Long promised turnaround of Italia's ITA Airways, crucial to help drive German airlines. Okay, so why might be something that I'm not aware of. It's interlinked with Rome Airport Fiumicino's ability to implement the ambitious expansion plan, struggling with high cost and prolonged delays in there's a company there based in the US. Plane deliveries, Lufthansa CEO Carsten Spot said that investments in further international growth, which includes the agreed purchase of a 41% stake in Atlial's success, ITA will help to revamp the hard-hit Cologne-based carrier. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack, right? So potentially, many businesses are taking a look at operators who can operate those airlines, as well as manufacturers who can manufacture those planes. Since demand is increasing, demand only will grow for traveling, perhaps at the cost. Since all these kind of expansions and investments can be very risky, if some of those manufacturers cannot pick up with the speed, right? All promises, right? And let's take a look at the next article. Quickly, right? We can touch on UK and something that's happening in UK, and from there we're gonna be progressing and take a look at perhaps some of the developments in the aviation market, right? Latvia UK grants permission for London City Airport extension after appeal. When it comes to connectivity and potentially traveling number of people, it's only projected to grow. Britain's government approved plan to expand capacity of London City Airport by 2.5 million passengers, overturning parts of previous local level decision but maintaining a ban on Saturday afternoon flights. Perhaps sound might be an issue. But again, the airport has sought to expand annual capacity to 9 million passengers, up from 6.9 million by 2031. It wants to make number of measures, including seeking permissions to push back a curfew of flights on Saturday afternoons from 12:30 p.m. to 6:30 local time. Anyway, so passengers. So as of now, perhaps they're only focusing on passengers. But anyway, let's take a look at some of the developments, different developments in the market, right? Let's take a look at what other governments are doing. Something that was published 2 months ago. That really China trials cargo drones, so-called air taxis as low altitude economy gain speed. Cargo and taxis, perhaps that would be serving two different segmentations of market. Cargo, that potentially packages and or similar, could be issue of weight, right? How much weight a plane will be able to lift. Taxis, potentially delivering of people. But anyway, engineers sent Chinese biggest yet cargo drone on test run over a weekend, while helicopter taxi took to the skies on soon to be open 100-kilometer route to Shanghai, laying a new milestone for countries expanding low altitude economy. Packing a payload capacity of 2 metric tons, massive amount by the way, when it comes to lifting this amount of weight, and doing it at the cost, right? The twin engine cargo drone developed by state funded. Let's keep those names. We can give credit, but won't be pronouncing it properly either way, right? SciTech Innovation Co took off in Southeast Shanghai, provided Sunday for its inaugurate flight that lasted approximately 20 minutes. State media reported, right? The Tangon built drone with a wingspan of 16.1 meter and height of 4.6 meters, slightly larger than the world's most popular light aircraft, four-seat Senza 172. Anyway, let's take a look at that. I'm gonna touch on finances, right? Manufacturer is the world's top drone making nation, testing ever larger payloads, while the transport companies are planning air taxi services, both managed and unmanned, as China loosens airspace curbs and grants incentives to build a low altitude economy in aviation regulation for a 2 trillion yuan or 279 billion industry by 2030 for a four-fold expansion to compared to 2023, right? So even there, since we're taking a look at Europe and complaining about agriculture, right? So there should be more scientists and engineers, right? And physics, chemistry, all these kind of things. If we're taking a look at how some of those airplanes would be powered, right? Anyway, let's take a look at perhaps other developments in technology, right? Since there's some tests being launched, something that we're taking a look at, let's take a look at what other projects being launched. Let's take a look at and let's close today's video on this area that really Chinese low altitude economy lacks growth roadmap, says industry group. So perhaps some of the pushback is something that published at the same time 2 months ago. Beijing, August 27, Chinese recent low altitude economy made up of manned or unmanned aviation services and low elevations has captured investors' interest, but many lack information and no guidance about how the sector could develop and industry grow, it says on Tuesday. They cannot predict the market and know how many problems they would be able to solve. In a kind of interesting way to structure this article, but anyway. Initial plans for China loyalty to the economy often refer to services such as small scale deliveries of goods or elevation of up to 1,000 meters. But some localities are also eyeing at airspace of up to 3,000 meters. The China's loosens aircraft curves and grants incentives to develop the sector. Manufacturers in the world's top drone making nation are testing ever larger payloads, and transportation companies are planning to air taxi services, both manned and unmanned. Oh, okay. So perhaps they're looking to source investment, and I guess what we're doing right now, promoting the sector. Anyway. The sector will be important driver for new round of economic growth, said there's the name the executive director of the Chinese Low Altitude Economy Alliance, adding the specific ideas of how to build the low altitude economy were not sufficient clear. Perhaps when it comes to hard to reach spaces, but there's a lot of issues, there's a lot of problems, and no one's talking about some of those problems. But anyway, we said that early August, then the China in Low Altitude Economy Alliance priced more than 100 companies was established, but the growth will take the lead in guiding cities to quick development applications that can be replaced commercially. To start, infrastructure and support services must be built, but duplication should be avoided, he warned it. Okay. So entire cluster, they're looking at 100 companies, massive by the way. So it's very hard to compete against those companies and the businesses who are looking to do that in places like UK, Italy, or Europe. And we're gonna have to do a lot of catching up if we're only gonna focus on agriculture. Just saying, right? Let's close on that. I don't know. Entire market is very new, and they're still looking how to solve some of those problems. When it comes to regulations, perhaps governments can do more. When it comes to finances, perhaps there might be a lot of interest, but investors not that keen on investing yet. All these kind of things, right? Let's see if we can reach out to Italy. Perhaps Italy might be interested in solving some of those problems out there, right? Thanks for watching. See you next one.